So I'll follow up with my own feelings about the MMA. I was a advocate for reform. We were not in it. And I agree generally with Councilor Cannon, and I also appreciate the information you gave us here today, because I think it somewhat proves the point. It actually stuns me how few, a couple things. Let me start one place. Let's start with the annual conference. It's stunning to me that nobody went to the annual conference other than city councilors and it looks like the citizens participation officer and the mayor and the COO. So, because Councilor Cannon is correct, and I give this administration credit because in the past it was a free vacation for the weekend to Boston and the taxpayers, okay? A lot of people went, a lot. And I'm talking 15, 20 years ago even. And a lot of people stayed overnight for 2, 3 nights. So you guys have done a very good job, at least controlling that expense. But it's also interesting when the 2 or 3 night, granted there were different people for the most part working here now, but it's interesting that the 2 or 3 nights aren't there that the people aren't at the conference. So looking at the relatively few number of people, I counted about 20 or 25 people in the entire city employment who utilize this. That's a per person of about $1,000 per person. So I'm not sure, and I appreciate Councilor Malik's love for the MMA and their offerings, and she stated that in the past. She's probably our best consumer of MMA output, okay, so I will recognize that. But I just don't see so we used to hear the values on this side of it too, all the trainings or whatever, but that doesn't come out in the wash. So for me, it goes back to what benefit is there to us to be a member of the organization? I agree completely with Councilor Cannon. They are extremely non-transparent. They will not tell us how much their executive director makes. I mean, they're a nonprofit, but since they consider themselves to have a municipal exception, they don't have to file that 990 form, or whatever that, I think it's a 990, whatever that form is. They don't have to file that. And I think it's a interesting exception because I don't really see how they get a municipal exception, but they do. And we don't know how much their executive director makes. It's crazy that we would be a public organization paying into a public organization that won't tell us that information. I mean, and we talked about it. The mayor set up a meeting with the current executive director here that I actually attended a year or 2 ago. And they had all sorts of reasons why not. They didn't want, I think part of the reason is one of the things that I think we struggled with here when we became a city, when we made compensation very clear to everybody. They don't want the other people at the MMA to know how much their colleagues are making either, to be honest with you. That's certainly one of the things, because they said it was proprietary and would hurt them and if they give out that information. So the lack of transparency is, one problem. The other problem is their advocacy, for the most part, has been weak and ineffective. And for the most part, the municipalities in the state have different interests. So what benefits some of the people they advocate for doesn't benefit others at all, especially around things like Chapter 70. So I think their overall advocacy in that area has certainly not been helpful to Framingham. We've been a big recipient of Chapter 70 increases over the last decade plus, but has nothing to do with the MMA. So given all the cuts we've made and given all the complaints, which are understandable because every Commonwealth community for the most part is having that situation, I agree, it's $25,000, but I just don't see the value we get in it at all.